brother.
Deplorable general. Target confirmed. Deliver the payload. Over.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Evan. How are you?
Together we're the Deplorable General. Every week we bring you tactical tips, guns and gear review. We do some political commentary, and man, have we been doing some political commentary. And that's what we're going to bring to you tonight as well. We're going to beat this horse until there ain't nothing left of it, until they stop coming for our guns, and we'll figure it out then. Anyway, so couple shout outs. We wanted to first shout out FN as always. We do giveaways periodically. If you like, subscribe, share. So you do that. We'll do a random drawing when it's time, and we'll shoot you out a hat or a shirt or lanyard or decal or maybe all of the above. And who else are we going to shout out to?
Guncarrier.com, Guns and Ammo Magazine. They just came aboard a couple of months ago. I just mentioned briefly, and then all of a sudden I'm caught up to date in the new prescription. So that was awesome. They really gave us a heck of a deal. Yeah. They really did. So
FN, Guns and Ammo Magazine. Guncarrier.com. Guncarrier.com is a website that it basically does a lot of the same stuff that we do. So you can go on every day. They update with new articles and videos, different content on things that are relevant to the gun community and gun culture in general. So definitely check them out. They've been around a lot longer than we have. And they're
like I said, guys, we're a startup company.
Yeah, we look up to these guys because we hope to be at that point here, hopefully sometime soon. So, guncarrier.com is a cool website for you guys to check out. So, we've talked about all kinds of stuff here on the show. We usually have a whole lot of fun doing it. This is a volunteer thing for us.
Yep.
We don't get paid. We get paid in hats and T-shirts and stickers. So
pins.
We don't get paid for it, but it's something we enjoy doing. We like bringing to the table all kinds of things tactical. I'm a military veteran.
I'm a security contractor.
So we got experience in this kind of thing, and that's kind of what brings us to the table. So, like I said, we're going to talk tonight. We're going to do some political commentary. There's some articles that I have here. I'm going to run down through some of these articles, and then we're going to kind of have a discussion is kind of the way that we're going to do things tonight on some of this stuff. Hopefully we can run down the list and all the different things that we have on the agenda here. But if we don't, it's not a big deal. It's all this stuff you can easily search on Google, and we'll put links in the YouTube video as well. But okay, so up to this point, we've had people have been saying nobody's coming for your guns. Nobody wants to take away your guns. People have been saying it for years, and we've been saying.
My old football coach told me that.
We've been saying it for years. Well, yeah, they are. And as a matter of fact, I've always been able to retort those people with
definitely
direct quotes.
It's easy.
Who say
the 94 gun ban. Bottom line, I had a rifle just like this one without the flash hider because that's evil. You can't have a flash hider, and they overlooked the 20-round mag because it didn't have a flash hider. Okay, these are all aesthetics, guys.
Yep.
I mean, we got two ARs up here on the table. They're chambered in two different rounds, two different calibers, but they're the same capacity. Guys, what they're going after is aesthetics. Okay, this is a semi-automatic 308. Okay, this is a very scary-looking gun, no doubt about it. Okay. But guess what? It ain't no different than a semi-automatic Browning Safari rifle. Chambered in 308 all the way up to 338 Winchester Magnum. One pull of the trigger, guess what? One bullet goes out the barrel. Okay, now how fast I can do that can scare you with this rifle. But guess what? I'll hit what I'm aiming at.
So I want to talk. There right now there are 6 different gun control bills that are on the floor of the Senate that have been proposed. So we want to just quickly run down through those 6 bills, what they are, because look, hey, at the end of the day, you can join the NRA, which is great. Do it, great.
Gun Owners of America, Second Amendment Alliance.
Yep, you can join all these clubs, and that's a good and positive thing. It's the first step. But honestly, if you're not on the phone with your congressmen and your senators,
email them.
Then you're wrong, because really, guys, we got to mobilize here. We have to pull together, and we have to take action on this, and we got to put the right people in office here in November. And hey, look, and our good buddy Robert Marcosio here in Pennsylvania is one of those good guys, I think. So anyway, you got to get on the phone, you got to email. You got to write letters. You got to almost harass these people and let them know.
We've did it so much that we can't do it anymore.
So here's starting with the first one. Now, the first one is Fix Nix Bill. It's the Fix Nix Bill is what it's called. Senate Bill 2135. Now, NICS is the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. So this is when anybody who's purchased a gun has gone in and the FFL
my last gun I bought right here, guys.
Has called into the NICS system and verified that if you bought a gun, that you're able to purchase a gun. This is the comprehensive background check system that's already in place.
And here in the state of PA, that goes through the state police.
Yep.
So and so they can really update quickly.
Exactly. Yeah. So now the Fix Nix Bill. It's at face value, it kind of sounds like a good idea. Okay, it's like, okay, let's fix background checks to make it so we have a better opportunity to stop guns from getting into the hands of bad guys. Sounds good.
Let me give you a little for instance here. We did the same thing when I was working for a security agency in Arkansas. Okay, we had to go through background checks, fingerprints, and everything else. Well, we had a couple of people slip right through the cracks. Okay, and they got armed up. They had their commission cards, and then all of a sudden we're pulling their license. There's a couple of people that I had to go knock on their door, and then as soon as I took their gun away, the state police came in right behind them and arrested them. Yeah, because they slipped through the cracks.
And it happens. So now here's the thing. So again, it sounds great. Sounds good. Fix NICS. Fix the background check system. Okay. But here's the problem with this bill. The problem is the way that the bill is worded right now, that if a veteran is deemed by the VA to not be competent in any way, shape, or form. So if they're not financially competent. So if a veteran comes to the VA and says, hey, I need you guys to help me manage my money, guess what? That now would disqualify that veteran from owning firearms at all and purchasing firearms in the future. So what that means is that at that very moment, the sheriff's department, the ATF, whoever can come and kick that veteran's door in and take every one of that veteran's guns. And look, hey, at the end of the day, this is just my personal opinion, okay? If you're going to take everybody's guns, okay, who's your biggest opposition? Who you scared of most?
A Navy SEAL.
The ones that you train.
Yeah,
the ones that you train to use those guns. So look, to me, this is the conspiracy theory side of me now, but to me, the reason why they're introducing something like this, and the only thing that it makes sense to me logically, is that they're trying to take the guns away from veterans.
Yep.
From veterans who can't manage their finances, and that somehow disqualifies them from buying guns. It's crazy. It's BS. It sounds good, but this is what these politicians do. They wrap everything up in this pretty little package, right?
And sneak a bill in there.
And people vote on it because they say, oh,
it's a good thing.
Fix the background check system. It's a good thing. And it's not, people. It's really, really not. And we can't compromise. I don't want to hear another freaking word
I'm so sick of hearing about compromise. In 94, we compromised. 94, we compromised.
And a compromise is when both parties get something and both parties give something up.
Guys,
What the hell are we getting?
nothing. I lost friends because of that. Because the gangbangers already had the guns. Okay?
Yep.
They already had the guns.
So
We're over here, we're limited to 10 rounds.
Yep.
That's all we were limited to. And these morons across the street, they're shooting AKs with 30-round mags because they went into Joe Blow's gun shop, backed the freaking van up, and stole a whole bunch of guns. Here's another thing. Look online. It's all over the place. Me and my buddy went online the other day in Maryland, and over there where the place that destroyed the guns, a whole crate of guns disappeared. They're out on the street. They're probably in Mexico now, where, they left the junk, took the good stuff, adios muchachos.
Yep. So the bill number 2, which for some reason my page that I printed out with all the notes on this stuff, it cut off the specifics on this one. So I'm just gonna name it, and then if you're interested, you can look into it. I definitely would, especially because if you're watching here in Pennsylvania, this is your very own Senator Pat Toomey is a co-sponsor here. This is the Manchin Toomey background checks proposal. Again, my notes got cut off on this, so I can't give you too much about it.
We can't have a collapsible stock, people.
But the background checks proposal is the background checks proposal, I would assume, is something to do something similar to the Fix Nix bill. Again, do some digging into that. The Manchin Toomey background checks proposal. Number 3 is the Age 21 Act. Okay, man. Okay.
Don't get me started.
This would change the minimum age to purchase an AR-15, an AK-47, and other assault weapons from 18 to 21. Okay. Oh, so as a military veteran, okay, at 18 years old, I was able to sign up and was handed a weapon.
And then qualified with belt-fed machine guns.
But at 18 years old, I can't buy a modern-day sporting rifle because of how it looks.
You can't buy a handgun.
Because of how it looks.
You can't. I had to be 21. And here's the funny thing. I was working right when I turned 21. I was working as a hotel detective with a guy that trained me up. I didn't know my butt from a hole in the ground. He trained me up, and next before before that year was out, guys, we had to get high capacity mags. We had to get Beretta D models. And that was double action only. You couldn't even finish an 18-round mag in that thing without wearing out your trigger finger. Because it was like shooting a double-action revolver 18 times.
Yeah.
That was the only way we got high-capacity mags. And then we spent $1,800 on a couple of SPPs. And, whenever we get our gun shop going, the first gun I'm going to buy is the B&T TP9. Because it's just like the SPP. Just so I can, train an alarm response with it. But that was an emergency gun. We found ourselves doing executive protection before I was even trained in executive protection.
Well, and again, so this, to rein it back in for the Age 21 Act, basically this is saying, it's just simple, that if in order to purchase what they consider based on cosmetic features to be assault weapons, not functionality, not lethality, it's completely arbitrary. It's completely based on cosmetic features. That again, and the handgun thing, that cooked my goose when I joined the Navy. And I couldn't buy a handgun at 18 years old. Of course, they could hand me a handgun and I could be a master at arms and I could walk around the ship with my issued handgun, but I couldn't go out and buy a handgun. That was already something that bothered me. But this, it makes no sense. It won't stop any shootings. There's no evidence that proves whatsoever that this will be at all effective in doing anything to make society safer. So number 4 is the assault weapons ban of 2017. This is Senate Bill 2095, sponsored by yours truly, Senator Dianne Feinstein.
Oh, I got a gun named after her.
So the bill would amend the federal code to make it a crime to knowingly import, sell, manufacture, transfer, or possess a semi-automatic assault weapon.
So in other words, they had to come get them.
Or large capacity ammunition feeding device.
Right
Okay.
here, people. Standard capacity.
Now here's the thing. There is legal precedent saying that it is unconstitutional for the government to take
Shall not be infringed.
Well, to take already owned guns that were legally purchased. So these weapons were legally purchased, and I already own them. There's legal precedent in place to say that it's unconstitutional for the government to ban a gun that I already own. They can't make me give it up. I won't. Okay. So
I like to see them try.
It's called post ex facto.
Post ex facto. So
Thank you, Robert.
let's see. Number 5, Senate Bill 1916, 1916, Automatic Gunfire Prevention Act. This again was sponsored by
Well, what
Senator
about that,
Feinstein.
Oh, is that okay?
So
That's federal.
this is Automatic Gunfire Prevention Act bill was introduced by Feinstein in October in the immediate aftermath of the Las Vegas shooting with the intention of banning bump stocks. The bill would ban safe sale, transfer, importation, manufacture, possession of bump stocks, trigger cranks, and similar accessories that accelerate semi-automatics rate of fire. Now, we talked about this before. This is really talking about anything that can increase the rate of fire of a weapon, which if you look at this weapon right here, that's anything. That's anything and everything. Anything can increase the
right
rate
here,
of fire.
people. Let
of
me
a
go get
firearm.
my fingers serialized.
Number 6 is the Senate Bill 2009, the Senate Bill 2009 Background Check Expansion Act. This is sponsored by Senator Chris Murphy.
Oh, lovely name.
Murphy's bill would require background checks for the sale or transfer of all firearms from one private party to another. The bill would also expand federal background checks to the sale or transfer of all firearms by private sellers with certain reasonable exceptions. Currently, private and unlicensed sellers are not required by federal law to do background checks. Murphy has stated he doesn't believe this bill would pass. I hope not. But, okay, basically, that's pretty simple. So, right now, this weapon right here, if I wanted to sell it to Evan, he could give me the money for it, and I could give him the gun, and we could part ways.
Now, with a handgun, guys, I have to go to a FFL holder
In the state of Pennsylvania.
in the state of Pennsylvania and have to get it transferred.
Because there's other states that you don't have to, that you
Nope.
can actually...
Arkansas was one of them.
Yep. So
Arkansas.
Pennsylvania, there's no private transfer of handguns. But
No.
but across the country, though, with this AR-15 right here, I could sell this to anybody I want as long as they're legally. And here's the thing. I'm not on the hook for what they do with it. Just like if I sold somebody a car and they ran somebody over, I'm not in trouble for that.
I think there should be background checks on buying vehicles. How's that?
Hey,
I wonder if that would pass.
Don't give them any ideas, okay? So, again, the reason that's a bad thing is because it restricts our rights and abilities to purchase and own firearms. So those are the 6 things that are on the floor right now. Pay attention to them. There's some that have no chance in hell of getting anywhere. There are some that they probably could gain some steam, and if they do, again, they're coming to take your guns. Okay, this is out of Annapolis, Maryland. Maryland's ban on 45 kinds of assault weapons and its 10-round limit on gun magazines were upheld Tuesday by a federal appeals court in a decision that met with strongly worded dissent. In a 10-4 ruling, the 4th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Richmond, Virginia, said the guns banned under Maryland's law aren't protected by the Second Amendment.
End quote. Put simply, we have no power to extend Second Amendment protections to weapons of war, Judge Robert King wrote for the court, adding that the Supreme Court's decision in District of Columbia versus Heller explicitly excluded such coverage. Holy cow. Weapons of war. Okay, so Maryland Attorney General Brian Frost, who led the push for the law in 2013 as state senator, said it's unthinkable that these weapons of war, weapons that caused the carnage in Newtown and other
Newtown was a
communities
handgun.
across the countries would be protected by the Second Amendment. Well, you know what? You're damn right. They absolutely are. Actually, weapons of war are covered by the Second Amendment. But
Yeah.
here's the thing, though. That's not a weapon of war. That's a modern-day sporting rifle. A weapon of war would be a fully automatic or a
And you can
a
still
burst
own
fire.
one.
And
You can still own one.
you just have to pay the government for permission.
Yeah.
So
$200 tax stamp, and if you got, like I was telling you guys, there's a dude in Arkansas who I shot his guns. Inside of 2 years, this dude spent $45,000 on 2 guns, not including $600 in tax
So
stamp.
you got to pay to play is the point.
Yeah, you pay to
Really,
play,
at
but
the
I
end of the
mean,
day,
you know,
and
that was before you had a freaking 10-month waiting period.
and they're regulated, but you can own them. But to say that this is an implement of war is the absolute craziest, most
Guys,
ignorant
there is
thing.
no difference between this and this. Actually, there is a difference. This is accurate out to about 600 yards. This thing out here is 800 yards. Okay, that's the difference. Okay,
Now
this
the District of Columbia versus Heller, though, is where they actually, this is what it was referenced in that article, actually was one of the first cases that basically said that the Second Amendment was an individual right.
Yep.
Not one that is
like I said,
provided for the
guys,
militia.
like I said, come and take them.
So, and of course, though, in DC versus Heller, they did mention then that that handguns are arms that are constitutionally protected. Rifles and shotguns.
Well, this is a rifle.
are right, exactly.
It's got lines and grooves down the barrel.
And so this is crazy, folks. This is a federal court who ruled that assault weapons, that AR-15s and AK-47 variants are not protected by the Constitution. Now, I pray to God this thing goes to the Supreme Court. I pray to God. And I pray to God that the Supreme Court says, bullcrap, these are absolutely protected under the Second Amendment. Because here's some things that we got to kind of note here. The Founding Fathers spoke passionately and often about this exact topic, okay?
God, there's a reason that John Hancock's got the biggest signature on the Constitution. Okay, John Hancock signed his name, the largest of anybody else, because they took a blood oath. They took a blood oath. That means they were prepared to die for this document. It was an act of war against King James.
George.
Excuse me.
So
I knew it started with.
Jefferson, in a letter, wrote to William Johnson, June 12, 1823, on every occasion of constitutional interpretation, let us carry ourselves back to a time when the Constitution was adopted. Recollect the spirit manifested in the debates, and instead of trying to force what meaning may be squeezed out of the text or invented against it, instead, let us conform to the probable one in which it was passed. Okay? Put simply, in layman's terms, Jefferson said, if you're curious as to the meaning of something, go back to the original spirit, the original debates, the original intent, and that's what you measure that thing against. Okay?
Yeah.
Now this is what it's talking about. This is talking specifically about the Constitution. Law can be finagled. The
Yep.
Constitution, not so much. So
If you're going to repeal something, repeal the 13th Amendment.
there you go. But okay, so then here is real quick here what Noah Webster had to say. Before the standing army can rule, the people must be disarmed, as they are in almost every country in Europe. The supreme power in America cannot enforce unjust laws by the sword, because the whole body of the people are armed and constitute a force superior to any band of regular troops. Superior to any band of regular troops. Meaning if the regular troops could own a fully automatic 50 caliber machine guns, well, daggone it, so should we.
Well,
per
Ted
what our
Nugent-
founding fathers said.
Ted Nugent was in Texas with Pierce Morgan at a firing range. It was on InfoWars. The guy, Ted Nugent, said, on one of his TV shows, he called a dude up and he had a Browning 50 on the back of a trailer, ready to go.
Yep.
I wish I had somebody on speed dial that had a Browning 50.
So we're not live anymore. So I have like 2 or 3 more quotes I want to read real quick if it's okay with Robert.
Yeah.
Let's see here. This is by Joseph Story. He says the right of the citizens to keep and bear arms has justly been considered as the palladium of the liberties of a republic, since it offers a strong moral check against the usurpation and arbitrary power of rulers, and will generally, even if these are successful in the first instance, enable the people to resist and triumph over them. Okay, this is a common theme when our founders talked about the
Pol
Second
Pot,
Amendment.
Mao Zedong, Hitler, Stalin. I mean, there you go. The gun control works.
Now, hey, look, and if you think this is crazy, if you think that it's crazy that we own guns to defend ourselves against tyrannical government, keep in mind that in the 20th century, there was over 170 million people worldwide killed by their own government. Own government, okay? Oh, it can't happen here. Well, yes, it can, and it will. Look at the I bet you the Japanese in World War II thought it couldn't happen here, that they would be gathered up and thrown in concentration camps right here in the United States.
Yep.
But guess what? It happened, folks, and it can happen again. And we're not
all
crazy
over the country.
for it.
And we're all over the country.
And we're not crazy for it, folks. In the 20th century, 170 million people killed by their own government.
I mean, we rounded them up. Well, look at the Trail of Tears.
Yep.
Look at the Trail of Tears. Disarmed the Indian. They put them out west on a reservation.
The last quote that I just want to read real quick is from Alexander Hamilton. If circumstances should at any time oblige the government to form an army of any magnitude, that army can never be formidable to the liberties of the people while there is a large body of citizens, little if at all inferior to them in discipline and the use of arms, who stand ready to defend their own rights and those of their fellow citizens. This appears to me the only substitute that can be devised for a standing army, and the best possible security against it if it should exist. Again, plain as day. We should have more of a right than our own government to own these weapons. So for this court and this federal appeals court in Maryland to come back and say that the Second Amendment doesn't cover assault weapons.
I hope somebody takes that to the Supreme Court.
I mean, our founding fathers are rolling over in their graves.
Great.
They really are. Next week we're gonna touch on the YouTube tightens their ban on, or their tightens their gun policies, their bans on firearms demos and things like that.
You can't have more than 30 rounds in a gun.
So we'll talk about that next week. And then the last thing that we would just want to mention real quick is that here in Pennsylvania, it is April 30th at 10 a.m., I believe. There is a Second Amendment rally in Harrisburg. More to come on that. We don't know a whole heck of a lot about it, so we'll bring more of that to you. But you can check out the website. It's http://pa2a.
We're gonna be there.
.org. That's pa2arally.org. And you can check out the details on that. That's the Pennsylvania Second Amendment rally in Harrisburg at the Capitol on April 30th at 10 a.m. Again, we're going to announce that several more times over the next
Yeah,
couple
we're going to
weeks.
keep that up till it happens.
We'll talk about it at the beginning of next week's show. But anyway, thanks for hanging in there with us tonight.
I'm Evan.
I'm Andy.
Deplorable General, over and out.
Deplorable General. Target confirmed.
Thank you.